As of January 2021, unemployment for women of color was much higher than the overall unemployment rate, ranging from 7.9% to 11.3% for women of color and people with disabilities.
Ethically diverse companies are 35% more likely to outperform their competitors. We need ethnic and gender diversity for our economy to fully recover.
Your local chambers are committed to creating an inclusive business climate.
This message is paid for by the Rotary Club of Colorado Springs.
Rotary knows that providing access to clean water around the world is about more than digging wells. That's why Rotary brings together community leaders, governments, and agencies to plan policies and funding that ensure permanent access to water. Be part of the solution. Learn more.
البيت هو الأساس الواحد، ما بينتسب بنوب نهائيا خالص، هو الكل بالكل. يعني كافين حالنا من هالشيء اللي عنا، يعني الحمد لله. في عنا أراضي، في لوز، في زيتون، كانت مستورة الحال. فجأة تغير الوضع خالص. يعني شو بيجبرك على المر؟ عنا المثل شو بيجبرك على المر غير الأمر منه. ما تم في شيء بين ايدي الواحد، الحمد لله اللي طلعت انا واولادي خير وعافيه، هاي اللي بدي اياه من الدنيا كلياتها.
اما انه في ياخذنا لعنده لحتى طلعنا، انه ما عاد رجعنا على البيت خالص، لانه صار خطر كثير. تركنا كل شيء من هيك.
بدك تكب شيء؟
خلاص كلوا يلا. أربع شهور بعما هرست. أنا يعني ما متوقع أي شيء، بس أنا متوقع إنه في بعد، في مسافة بعيدة، في 8000 كيلومتر بيننا وبين كندا. عندنا بسوريا بعض مرات على الجمعة أسبوع 15 يوم حتى أحسن أحكيهم واتساب، يعني ما أنا سهلة. نحن بدنا نتحمل المسافات البعيدة هاي وفرقة الأهل. كرامة لشو؟ كرامة لأولادنا، كرامة لحياة أفضل من الحياة اللي عايشين فيها نحن بسوريا. سلي عن عمو أيمن، سلي عن عمو أيمن. خير؟
الحمد لله تمام، كيفك انت؟
الحمد لله.
الحمد لله منيحة. عم تحكي على سوريا شيء؟ ما عم اسمع صوتك، راح الصوت. راح الصوت، ما عم اسمع صوتك. صعب التواصل بعض مرات مع اهالينا اللي داخل سوريا، بيجيك انه ابوك مات، امك ماتت، عمك مات، ما فيك تتحرك، ما فيك تعمل اي شيء له. وتحدينا كل هالصعوبات هاي وجينا لهون، يعني ان شاء الله خير.
coming right after a war. Everything you have is completely gone. Not knowing the language, not knowing the people, and trying to start up a new life in a place where you don't know if you're going to be accepted or if you're going to be rejected.
Watch the ice savers there.
My family came to Canada just after the war. I see a little bit in Mazen what they probably went through. I am a first generation in Canada, and I look at that with Mazen, and I see things through his eyes that probably what my family maybe went through. Hoping that when they came to this country that there was somebody to help them.
And get the Arabic channel so they could watch series and the programs.
They can buy that on
تسألونا شيء ناقصكم شيء عايزين شيء أي شيء بدنا إياه بس خبرونا.
Everyone that supports this group, everyone that visits them, you'll see they're warm and affectionate, and you are their family. They trust.
Yeah, bye bye. See you soon.
خذي.
سلام.
حط شيل العيون شيل العيون هي وحدة. شنو؟ Why? And Z.
Dad's been the teacher.
Yeah, you're doing wonderful. I got to spend a couple hours one afternoon with the boys, and they just amazed me.
Yeah.
They knew their alphabet, and they were telling me colors.
نهتموا بأولادنا كثير، يعني هاي عندنا شغل كبير ما بننساه. كل واحد يعني بيصير شيء بدراسته.
Maggie's place has been open to this project from the very beginning.
Let's do what we can to make them feel welcome, and we want everybody to enjoy being in our community.
Stop sign, make eye contact with them.
This is our second family that's learned to drive and got their license here.
Pretty much.
It's harder when you've been driving in another country where the rules are different, but I see a difference between today and 2 days ago. I wouldn't want to be driving in Syria or Lebanon, not in the big cities, that's for sure.
Thank you.
You got room back there, Mazen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are going to the Amber Stadium. This is going to be a new experience for our family. They've never been on skates before. I don't think they've ever seen artificial ice before. Hello, Ann.
Hello, everyone.
We have three. Yes.
That's exciting.
And I have the skates.
See you there.
A good Canadian day. It's snowing.
When we first started this project, we had sort of mixed feelings about what to expect. We were nervous that there may be some resistance because there was a lot in the country just questioning, should we be letting refugees in? You know, what was going on? It was very uncertain. If we would have thought it through too hard, we would have convinced ourselves not to.
العالم تحترمنا.
شوي
يعني ضحكتهم. حسينا نحن يعني ما طلعنا من بيتنا. طلعنا ببيتنا.
Now that we have the families here, we understand what they have encountered in their journey. It gives us a greater realization of how fortunate we are to be Canadians and share what we have.
وما جازونا غير بكل شيء خير، وإن شاء الله الأيام جاية بنجازيهم بشيء خير بينفع البلد هون بأمهرست تحديداً كمان.
Sam and Lynn, who were West Point at the same time that they were intersecting. Sam was a Blackhawk pilot, got out of service in 2011. He's a client executive with Hub International Insurance over on Cause of the Rockies. And in his spare time, he's raising 3 boys and does a lot of work in the veterans community and other community outreach programs. And to my right is Sarah King. She is a vice president with UMB Bank, and she supervises 2 of the retail branches here in the city. She also is the president of the second best Rotary Club, the Broadmoor Club.
Thank you, brother, and welcome Sam and Tara. And then we move over to Alan Gregory.
Yes, my guest today is my wife, Jane Myla.
And we move over to Jack Rush.
Yes.
I had some prepared remarks on another topic. What I would like to do is to reintroduce my delightful wife, Elaine, who is slightly figured out. She says, I don't know why I married you, but I know I can do better. Take me to Rotary and I'm going to stick around.
Thank you, Jack, and welcome, Maureen. Aside from our speaker and the guests of our speakers, I think that's all the guests that we have. That's all I have listed. Is there anyone that I missed? Excellent. Thank you. Yes.
The second best spot, Rotary Club Colorado Springs.
Cornhole, yes. Oh, that's cornhole.
September 11th very beautiful park. I intend to go and support this, and I would encourage all of you to do the same. It's fun.
September 11th. At 9 a.m. is registration, 10 a.m. games begin. So you can go to our Facebook page or our site. I'll get you guys more information on it. I'll send it to somebody that can shoot it out. Yes, a team is 2 people. So if you register before the 11th, it's $50 a team. I think it goes up to $60. Thank you. $60 after August 11th. So in the last month, unless you're a pro team. Pro teams cost a little bit more, but if you win a little bit more, you take home first place. So we do have prizes. Should be a great time. I would love to have you guys out there if you can make it out. So again, you're going to be a part at 9 a.m. is registration, 10 a.m. games begin, and it should hopefully be a great day of fundraising and fun. Thank you. Thank you.
And now, Holly Flores, our membership director, is going to give a white badge out, which is pretty exciting. Nice.
Well, first, I'm going to do a red badge. All right, so first for the red badge, I'd like to have Chip Frazier come on. And for nostalgic reasons, I want to take the lead. The date of the membership was September 16, 2020. So really glad that we finally get to bring Chip on for his red badge. For those of you that have not gotten to know Chip, you may or may not recognize him from Zoom. He looked a lot different. He was one of the bearded members, and he looks a lot different. So when I saw him a couple weeks ago at the table, he was like, hello, and I was like, I do not know who that is. So really good to see Chip in person, and we're looking forward to getting to know you better. His sponsor is Karen, and he actually first came here kind of a guest of Rodney, and we're glad that he's chosen to join us and be a part of our team. That doesn't fall. So first the red badge. So I'm having George come up because George, who's actually been one of our best recruiters for Rotary over the past couple of years, he is going to give a white badge to, or to introduce one of our white badge recipients, Lynn Bidler. So Lynn, if you can come on up. And George, you can introduce Lynn.
It's a great pleasure to bring Lynn up here today. They have been a wonderful contributor to the UCCS campus, coming here from West Point via, what was it, North Dakota, South Dakota. South Dakota State University. Lynn is the dean, fellow dean of the College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, which is the largest school at UCCS, comprising about 60% of the campus. A great team player, a great Rotarian they will be.
Hello everyone, my name is Lynn. I use they, them pronouns, which I've talked about before, so I won't talk about that today. But I want to say thank you for welcoming me to Colorado Springs. I came, as some others did, during COVID, so my first meeting was Rodney's first meeting as president on Zoom. And I actually was a Rotarian in Vermillion, South Dakota, the Vermillion, South Dakota chapter. And that's really where that was the first time living in a very small town. So 10,000 people surrounded by cornfields. Vermillion is in the southeast corner of South Dakota, which we like to call the Miami.
Looks like you got your internet back.
Because it is the warmest spot in the state, and in fact in the Dakotas.
Oh, just hit escape.
Before I was at the University of South Dakota, as George mentioned, I taught at West Point for 12 years. It turns out that Sam and I crossed paths there, and I know her Arabic professors. I started there, well, I interviewed about 2 or 3 months after 9/11. And as you may or may not know, college professors don't normally choose, where they want to teach, right? You have a very particular niche expertise. Mine happens to be in 17th century Spanish drama. If you're interested in playwrights contemporary with Shakespeare, but in Spain. And so there aren't like a whole, I think there were 10 jobs in the whole country available when I was graduating in that field. And but this job at West Point came open, and I thought that's actually the job that I want. It was a chance to serve, and you really didn't want me in a foxhole. I was not going to be competent there, but I loved my 12 years at the Academy, educating, training, and inspiring Corps of Cadets to be future leaders for the Army and the nation. They really inspired me to understand, because I always loved teaching. I actually started teaching ballet, which is another story, when I was 13. And I always thought it was really cool, like something could come out of your mouth and then suddenly somebody could do a pirouette that they couldn't do before. And that was really neat, right? And so I thought, well, whatever it is I'm going to teach, it turned out to be Spanish. But when I got to West Point, I learned how amazing it is to be able to not only develop individuals, but also engage and inspire groups, teams, and whole organizations. And that's where I sort of caught the job from higher ed administration. It's not something that you necessarily grow up saying, I want to be a dean. But as a civilian, you're not allowed to do that there, so that's why I left. So I ended up in South Dakota, and I'm now here, and I'm just very, very proud and excited to have amazing colleagues like George and Valerie, and our other fellow dean colleagues, and the faculty there as well. And one of the things that we love is really engaging higher ed the community in higher ed and engaging ourselves in the community. That's really important to us, that we don't want to be ivory tower and bluffs, that we are an integral part of the community of Colorado Springs. And so please, talk to us. We have students who are learning to work in areas in which you work in your industries, and we want to partner with you. So with that, I guess I should say I'm originally from San Diego, California, and I have 2 kids. Emily's going to turn 23 in 2 weeks, and my son Elias is going to turn 21 in 6 weeks, and so that's going to be interesting. And my wife, Jane, is a professional magician.
I did not skip birthdays or Rotary anniversaries. We don't have any this last week. So, but next week we have a whole bunch, so we're going to make up for it. And then let's see, we've got some updates. Oh, first of all, who dropped these? They're super snappy. We thought oh my gosh, those are mine. Are they blue? Kind of like blue on the side? Yeah. Yours. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have my other glasses. They're prescription. Oh, really? They were hanging on the outside of my back. That's a big no-no. Okay, well, let's see. I think Donna wanted to come up and talk about actually, if somebody could give Donna DeRolio a microphone, she's going to talk about the golf tournament.
The golf tournament is going great. According to Randy's spreadsheets, we've got 100 golfers so far, and we're going to build on that a little bit. The only thing we could use, Sam needs just about 2 volunteers.
No, there's more. There's a list right here.
You got
well, I was given a list.
There's all this going around. We need a few more volunteers. It's fun. It's a fun opportunity to volunteer. Reminding you, the last Friday of this month, we won't meet here. We won't have our regular meeting. We will have lunch at the club at the golf tournament. So just keep that in mind. You'll get an email and sign up for that. And it's just been so easy this year. And Penny and Turner, everybody's just thrilled with what we're doing. Andy, Turner, kids are going to be, and grandkids are going to be able to participate a little bit more as they get further from the events. So we're just really excited.
Thank you very much. Well, we have some other special things planned today, but I see the time and I'm not going to cut Devra short. So I wanted to introduce Devra Ashby. She's a public information officer for District 11. And I cannot get her bio up on my phone, so I'm going to let her introduce the other 2 people with her and then have your program, and we'll have some questions at the end.
It is an absolute pleasure to be a guest here today with you, and I can't thank you enough to be here in person and see all your faces. Is very different from the past 18 months of the little boxes. Although I do know I saw some folks on the little boxes earlier, so I know we have some folks running virtually. One of whom is my boss, Dr. Thomas, Superintendent of School District 11. No pressure here, you know. My boss and then one of his bosses, one of our board members, Jim Mason, watching, so you'll have to forgive me. If I seem a little nervous, that's because they're there. I'm just glad they're not here. My name is Devra Ashby, and as Kathleen noted, I am Chief Communications Officer for School District 11, which is the Center City School District here. You're in District 11 right now. We encompass all the way west to 31st, all the way east to Powers, south to Airport approximately, and north to Woodman approximately, give or take a few weird boundary areas. But we are the oldest school district in the area. In fact, we are right behind the city and turning 148 or 49, just depending on when you would consider us becoming a district. And the city just celebrated their 150th birthday. So we take pride in being the city's namesake school district, Colorado Springs Schools. And many of you may be alum, many of you may have had children go through School District 11, grandchildren go through School District 11. I myself graduated from Rotary High School and then went on and graduated from UCCS. And I'm very happy to be a Colorado Springs native. I know you don't find many natives these days, but just couldn't say enough great, wonderful things about our school district. And today we're talking about rebuilding, rediscovering, and reimagining School District 11. And as you may know, schools in your community are the hub of your community. And there's a direct correlation between strong schools and strong communities. And so we're grateful for our partnerships with our Rotary clubs, with our volunteer organizations, with our volunteers. We have over 19,000 volunteers who come into our district to present on a number of different things or to help support our educators. And for that, we are thankful because we could not do our jobs without our volunteer support and partnerships in our community. One of the people here today, I wanted to make sure I gave her enough time to talk a little bit, is Andrea Slatterly, sorry. And Andrea, again, has been a partner with our district for a while now and has provided some very critical volunteer work. Another guest that we have here today is Anthony Carlson. Anthony is also a friend of District 11 and has supported us in a number of different adventures that we have had in this community. So Andrea played a key role on our facilities master plan. We, before COVID, started out to re-envision what our school district could look like in Colorado Springs, because as you know, our city is growing, and we have to keep pace with the city of Colorado Springs to be able to offer rigorous education that prepares students for our workforce, so that we can continue to grow our own here in Colorado Springs and have students be prepared to enter the workforce or go on to higher education or the military and be a contributing member of society. And so in order to do that, we took a deep dive look at our facilities in Colorado Springs, in our schools and our buildings, and decided that we needed to bring on a committee of dedicated volunteers in our community, parents, teachers, students. We have a few students that were part of the Facilities Master Plan Committee, and volunteers such as Andrea. And I just wanted her to share her experiences just briefly on what it meant for her as we move through this process, and then I'll give a little bit more detail about the process in a minute.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Devra. I'm Andrea Slattery. I've been in Colorado Springs for 6 years. Hasn't gone fast enough. It's been a great time to engage with this community and see it grow and flourish and change. A lot of you know Ray Nunn. I work with him over at Nunn Construction, and as Devra said, had the privilege to serve on the Facilities Master Plan Committee, and I was just so impressed with how open and organized and data-filled the whole process was. We all met in big and small teams over a 6+ month period with business owners, with teachers, administrators, students, a whole gamut across the community that are affected in different ways by schools, even folks, who don't send their kids there every day or their grandkids, because schools are really the heart of the community, and I think it's very important to sustain and help them grow, as Colorado Springs time and again is named best place to live, best place to be, attracting families, young and old. It's so critical as businesses that we support our schools and the vitality really of our community, especially in the heart of the city. So Devra has done a lot of great work. Happy to be a part of it or answer questions. we're jumping ahead because I had a time snafu constraint, but, you know, reach out to Devra or myself on it, and I think you'll be really impressed with not just the facilities component, but how that relates to the academic vision. And Dr. Thomas, kudos in your box there. You've done a great job leading the charge. Thank you.
So as we were talking, it's Rebuild, Reimagine, and Rediscover. And the reason why we are embarking on this is because we solidly believe a number of years ago, 3 years ago, when Dr. Thomas first arrived to our school district, that we needed a new mission and a vision, a new direction for the district. We have 26,000 students that we serve in our community, and in order to do that and move forward with our vision, we needed to put that vision in place and into action. So as you can see on the screen, our new mission, I say new, it's 3 years old now, but our new mission is that we dare to empower the whole student to profoundly impact our world. And we do. We educate every single student who walks through our doors. You may have heard a hot term called CRT, or critical race theory. That's not really what we're talking about at all. In fact, critical race theory is not taught in any K-12 institution that I'm aware of, and not taught in our District 11 schools. However, equity is a big focus for us. And when I say equity, I'll say that I'm going to use the analogy that Dr. Thomas uses on a regular basis to describe equity. So say Rodney and I are going to run a race together, and equity is different from equality, right? Equal would mean that Rodney gets a size 12 shoe, I get a size 12 shoe. I'm not going to do very well in that race with a size 12 shoe, am I? Rodney's probably going to beat me. He probably beat me anyway, but what I'm saying when I talk about equity is that each child gets what they need in order to become successful. And that's different for every single child. So when I would just ask that when you hear the term CRT, that you remove that label and know that the district is working on educating equitably all children so that they can be successful in life. Also wanted to, oh, there we go. There we go, that's it, that's it, that one. We'll get it, we'll get it. Thank you so much for your help, I appreciate this. So we're going to talk about facilities and academics. Just prior to COVID, School District 11 embarked on a facilities master plan. It is a 20-year master plan. The reason being is that the average age of a school building in District 11 is between 60 and 80 years old. Now, when you think about your own homes, and you think about older homes, if you have an older home, that means you need to be investing a lot more in the way of, behind the scenes, electrical and HVAC and lighting, maybe some upgrades to the actual facade itself too, right? It's no different in a school district. And in District 11, with 60 to 80-year-old average age schools, West being our oldest at 98 years old, we need to have some TLC going into our buildings in order to prepare students for a world yet to be imagined out there for some careers that don't exist right now. And so we're meshing the facilities master plan with an academics master plan. And the reason being is, obviously, we've got to prepare these kids for careers, like I said, that haven't even been thought of yet. If you think about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, if you have a STEM lab in a school, our schools were created before the internet. Our schools were built before the internet. So we've had to go back in through the walls, and we have a great facilities department and a great technology department that have been able to sort of work with our old buildings to make sure that we can have that internet access. But if you think about a STEM classroom, we really need to have updated facilities that provide, the hoods and the scientific areas. I beg your pardon because I'm not a STEM person myself, I'm a communications major. But you really need to have those things in place in a building for students to have advantages in a 21st century classroom. So our academic master plan is also an area where we started before COVID. And with both the academic and facilities master plans, we went out and we surveyed families, we surveyed our community, we brought anyone and everyone on board who would be a part of that planning, those planning processes, Andrea included. We had over 5,000 touch points of community feedback in developing our community plans. And we are on the forefront of being able to mesh our facilities and our academics so that we can become a very premier choice district in Colorado Springs. As you know or may know, there's 17 other school districts in our area. There's also the high competition from charter schools, private schools, online schools. And so we have to be able to remain competitive in our school district and be able to offer children and families that forward-thinking education that they all deserve. When we talk about the academic master plan, we're talking about shaping academic opportunities. I'm not going to read all of the things that are on the slide, and I apologize, it's very small font, so you may not be able to see it, but I'll touch on the highlights. What we learned from our community, from our parents, from our families and our students, and our community members who are experts in their fields, who come in and help volunteer in our schools, is that the needs for academics in District 11 needed to address quality neighborhood schools. So we have to have that base level of core education where any family who moves to our school district or our city knows that they have a quality school right in their neighborhood that they can send their child to. Colorado is a choice state, meaning that if I wanted to and I could transport my child to Denver and there was capacity at one of their Denver schools, I could choice her into that school. I'm not going to drive her all the way up to Denver, but just so that you understand what choice means in the state of Colorado. We also know that our community wanted distinctive magnet schools and programming. Magnet schools can be anything from a Suzuki violin program to a STEM school. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But we also wanted aligned programming pathways. So if I were to start my child in a dual language immersion program in kindergarten, I would need to know that that pathway leads my child from elementary to middle to high school, where they could graduate from high school globally prepared, both culturally and dual language. We also know that our community asked for expanded college and career options. We are thankful to our higher ed partners because we have come alongside our higher ed partners and have been able to offer our high school students concurrent enrollment in the way of college credits, all the way up at one of our schools, our early college high school, up to an associate's degree, so that they can graduate with an associate's degree and a high school diploma at the same time, which affords them the opportunity to either continue on with their education in higher ed or have an associate's degree with a very niche certification in an industry where they can begin work right after high school. We also know that they wanted equitable access to learning opportunities and experiences. When we talk about equitable access, we had identified inequities in our own system. Our magnet schools for gifted magnets. Children are identified at the second grade level as gifted, and they can go into a dedicated program that's immersed in gifted education. Those are offered at 2 of our elementaries and 2 of our middle schools. Well, if parents don't have the ability to transport their kids to those schools, there's an inequity there. So we were able to open up transportation across our district for any gifted student to be able to hop on a bus and get taken to the gifted magnet program should their family choose that option. When I talk about magnets and pathways, there are 5 that our community identified as being top priorities. They want to see that our schools have STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, and math. They wanted to see that we have career and technical education, CTE. And I would say in District 11, we have the best career and technical education programs in the state, hands down. They are award-winning, and they continue to build upon those programs and offer kids new and creative ways to think about their future. Visual and performing arts. How often do you see that visual and performing arts are left out of public education in some areas? In District 11, I know that our board members place a huge emphasis on the arts, and they continue to place that emphasis when a lot of our surrounding schools and districts were cutting the arts due to budget cuts, D11 powered through and kept our arts in place and then capitalized and built upon those programs. And now we want to see pathways that lead from elementary to high school for kids in the visual and performing arts fields. Dual language immersion program. We are starting the dual language immersion program for Spanish and English at Rogers Elementary this year for kindergartners and first graders. Those students will learn both English and Spanish core curriculum. And our hope is that they become bilingual as they move through the system, and we'll be adding on grade levels, eventually moving up to the high school level at Mitchell High School with dual language immersion program pathway from Rogers all the way up to Mitchell. And finally, outdoor environmental education. Look at where we live, beautiful area. People are moving here because of our outdoor offerings, and we know that outdoor education and environmental education is one of the future opportunities that our students need to have in order to be able to capitalize on a career in that industry. So our long-term vision is that equitable access to our magnets and pathways and programs will be provided to all students, regardless of their geographical location. And that, in a nutshell, is basically what equity means to us in District 11. What led us to this pathway? What led us to these plans and this future vision? There's a number of different things. I first talked a little bit about those processes, that academic master plan and the facilities master plan, and how we wanted to modernize District 11's offerings. We have to keep current with what's happening across K-12 across the country, and we have to be able to be competitive in those areas. So that was one of the driving factors. Also, I talked about it earlier, modernizing our schools and infrastructure. When we have schools that are still not air conditioned, are still not up to date with some ADA compliance areas, are still back in the 50s, 60s, and some 70s, we need to bring those schools up to date. And finally, we have this opportunity to become the premier school district of choice for Colorado Springs. We are Olympic City, USA. We are growing at a rapid pace. And again, as a native, I have not seen so much growth in my entire life. And it can be scary, but I'm also optimistic that it will bring a lot of opportunity to our city as well. We have to keep pace with the city so that we can continue to help families grow and contribute to the workforce in Colorado Springs. So we have a few examples graphically of what happened when our schools were built. Again, early in the 50s and 60s, when a lot of our schools were built, there was a lot of concentration in the center part of Colorado Springs. Out east hadn't been developed yet, even to the north hadn't been developed yet. As the oldest school district, we were the only school district for a while. And then, we had schools that accommodated very small elementary schools that were rather close together. But what we're seeing now is our fiscal responsibility to our taxpayers is that if we have two schools, Wilson and Henry is a prime example, and they're within 2,000 feet of each other, they're taking kids from each other. And our break-even point for being able to sustain and adequately maintain older schools like this is about 300 kids. Both of these schools are under-enrolled. And that's not being a financial steward to our taxpayers. So what we're looking at doing is looking at what is called the FCI, or Facility Condition Index, as well as enrollment, to be able to bring those two communities together, build a brand new facility for both neighborhoods, and bring those kids into a brand new facility and be able to offer them the equitable education that they deserve. I have a couple more examples. Again, the distance between Buena Vista and West, two of our schools on the west side, is, again, right around 2,000 feet. Same type of phenomenon happening with those highly condensed areas. And again, more choice, where students are choicing out to other schools and areas, north, south, east, and west of us. And this is the trifecta: Edison, Stratton, and Audubon. They're all located within a half-mile radius of one another. So being able to physically take 3 schools, or 2 schools even, and put them into one beautiful brand new facility is the hope for us to be able to thrive and move into the future. So in 2017, the voters of Colorado Springs passed a generous mill levy override, and for that we are grateful. It did move us forward with improving our security in our buildings, which was and continues to be a hot topic. Safety is always going to be at the forefront of everything that we do. It also allowed us to increase the salaries for our educators and our support professionals and bring them up to a competing wage. But when we talk about our facilities right now, and some of that money did go towards our facilities, we have a $700 million backlog in repairs and maintenance needs alone. So just to be able to fix and repair our buildings is going to take us a very long time when about $25 million of that MLO is allocated annually to those costs. The board has been very fiscally responsible and has paid down a lot of our bond debt, and so we will be debt-free as of December 2022, I believe. So we are looking at putting a no tax increase or a tax neutral bond on the November ballot. And what that means is there's a bond that taxpayers pay into for District 11 currently. It would be extending that bond and those mill levies past the date of which it would drop off in November. So we're asking, and the ask here is that you come alongside District 11, really understand the plans, really understand what we're trying to do in our district, and potentially support us as we move forward with the bond that will be on the November ballot. And ask questions. Ask questions if you have them. Talk to us. I know that as taxpayers, there's a lot of question, in general, as far as what's happening with properties and values and things of that nature. Again, if I can't answer all of your questions, I can definitely get you to the person in District 11 who can answer them. And then finally, we just ask that you learn more. And we have a whole robust webpage that offers detail upon detail about both the facilities master plan and the academic master plan in our district, and how those will work to support all children in Colorado Springs School District 11. The QR code, if you have a phone and you're able to take a picture of that, that'll take you right to that website, but otherwise, it's d11.org/rebuilding. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have, and I'm going to wrap it up now. So, Kathleen. Kathleen said we do have time for a few questions, so. Yes, sir?
I'm concerned about kids starting in first, second grade, deciding what they're going to do when they're through with high school. A lot of kids through with high school don't even know what they're doing. So can they change back and forth? What's the philosophy?
I was one of those kids. I don't know what I'm doing when I grow up, even now. But yes, I do understand completely. And I have a 7-year-old. He doesn't know. He wants to, shoot his Nerf guns. And so I do get that question. And of course, children are going to change their minds. They're going to want to go to different areas of interest. And that's the beauty of choice in our state, is that, again, if there's capacity, and all of our schools have capacity at this point, if there's capacity and we can get them there and we can make sure we arrange for it, then definitely they may change their direction as their passions change. Yes, sir?
Seemingly critical, but not a question. Can you point to any statewide metrics that compare District 11 to all other districts in Colorado, ignoring all of the differences in financing and so forth?
Absolutely.
And secondly, what would you say is the ratio of salary for in-classroom teachers to non-in-classroom teachers, that is, vice principals and all the support stuff? Just rough idea. I have an idea it's 50-50, but I don't know.
That's a very good question. So I'll answer your first question with, and I might be reminded again what that was. So you wanted to know other metrics of, sure. we just pulled some comparisons between D49, D20 as far as the age of their schools, as far as the enrollment in their schools, the enrollment averages, and consistently our enrollment averages fall at least 100 to 200, sometimes even 300 below what their elementaries are enrolling. I'd say the average enrollment in newer school districts and new schools across the state is anywhere from 400 to 600 in elementary schools. In high schools, that number greatly increases to about 2,500. The most that we have enrolled is at our largest high school, at Doherty High School. It's roughly around 2,000. So again, I hope that's what you were looking for. Okay.
On a score of 1 to 10, District 11 is question mark. All the other districts in Colorado Springs are what? How do you compare to all of them? And some overall metric of quality, graduation, if there is such a thing.
So, graduation rate, off the top of my head, I don't have, but I can definitely find that out for you. But I do know that I would rate our curriculum and our instruction and the master quality of our teachers out of 10. And that's because A, I'm biased, but B, I know that we have every single teacher in a classroom is a master teacher. There's some statistics that you'll find in the booklet that I put on the tables, the District 11 booklet. I put one on each table. We'll give you a little bit of an idea of comparison of our academics in the middle of that booklet. And then as far as teacher salaries versus administrator salaries, I will say that the district has spends about 1.3% of our budget on administrators, and that includes building administrators too, so principals, assistant principals, as well as central administrators. We spend about 80% on our teachers and our support staff, and then the rest goes towards operational costs.
That's amazing. So you have about a 1 to 10, changing the numbers. For every $10.
We have 2 minutes, so call.
I'm happy to talk to you after.
Just looking through your brochure, you have an 80.3% on-time graduation rate.
Yes, sir.
What are the obstacles to bringing that up to a higher level?
Absolutely.
And how does that compare with other school districts in our county?
That's a very good question, and I will say that the number one obstacle we face is poverty. Poverty is a direct correlation to how students will succeed. And we've seen our free and reduced rate lunch rate, which is how we measure poverty in our school district, go from about 30% to 60 and a little over 60 in the past 5 to 7 years. We know that there's an increased need for community resources and community support, and for everyone to come in and help raise the tide, so to speak, so that we can support these students and these families. Another indicator of graduation success is mobility. As we know, within Colorado Springs, we have high mobility rates with military, but also now with the high increase in housing, people moving from one place to another. Again, that contributes to poverty as well. We do compare to other school districts in the on-time graduation rate within a 5% range-ish. And it just really depends on the school district that you're talking about. If they have less of a poverty rate in their school district, they will have a higher graduation rate. That's just the bottom line. In order for us to be able to address those things, we have established our non-traditional education program pathways. We have 3 non-traditional schools at the Roy J. Watson Academic Campus, an adult education program, and a number of other non-traditional programs that we are using to combat those numbers.
Thank you very much. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend.
Every year, over 350,000 young people participate in Rotary's youth programs. And thousands of mentors guide them as they develop their potential and take action in their communities. Service learning is a proven method for activating young people to address the root cause of community issues and hone their leadership skills. And along the way, inspiring them to create lasting change in their communities and themselves, setting them on a path for a lifetime of service. Foster growth in young leaders in your community with Rotary's service learning resources, our new approach to youth service. Resources are now available for both youth program participants and adult advisors. Start your service learning journey now at rotary.org/learn.